Zero, Season 2, Episode 14. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host, Jenna Anderson. Joining me in the virtual building today is Aaron Perrine.
Sadly, not on a floating discotheque,
Absolutely.
but here, how's everybody doing?
And then we also have Jamie Jirac in the virtual building.
Good morning, everyone.
Awesome. Brandon is taking a very well-deserved mental health day, so we are all hanging out here. And then a certain someone else might be breaking out of his jail cell and joining us when we talk about Moon Knight, so we will see about that. But we have a lot to break down today. We have episode 3 of Moon Knight. We have a lot of MCU news through the week. We have those Thor 4 action figures that we have to talk about. We have a new Dr. Stange TV spot that just came out before we started recording, so there's a lot to break down today. First and foremost, though, I do want to thank everybody who has been subscribing to our YouTube channel and joining the Twitter community. Those spaces just become so much, the Twitter community in particular is so much fun to check in on and see what everybody's talking about. So if you have not joined already, our YouTube is youtube.com/phase0, and then we'll link to the Twitter community somewhere so you can find it if you're not already there. And we also have a bonus episode that will be arriving this Friday. I won't tell you who it's with yet, but we will tell you at the end of the show just to keep you a little in suspense. But yeah, so diving into the MCU news for the week. First and foremost, the Thor Love and Thunder Marvel Legends wave came out. We can see what it looks like now. We've got new costumes for basically everybody, but this is our first look at the new ones for Valkyrie and for Starlord in particular. I know Starlord almost has like mutton chops now. That seems like a new addition. Valkyrie is labeled King Valkyrie on her on the box for her figure, which is super cool. And then there's the Gorr design, which we have to talk about because it has drawn comparisons to every single thing under the sun except for how Gorr actually looks in the comics. I know I tweeted he looks an awful lot like Lube Man from the Watchmen TV show. So, and there's a lot of like death from Bill and Ted, like anything. There's so many comparisons to be made there. But yeah, Jamie, you're at the top. So what do you think about the Marvel Legends wave?
I mean, well, first of all, it's just wild that this is how we're being introduced to some of this stuff. It's it can't be on purpose. I don't know. It's crazy. I mean, we've knew that Valkyrie was going to be King Valkyrie since 2019, but to see it written out is like gets me excited. I can't wait to hear the words be said aloud. The Bill and Ted was my first thought about Gorr as well. Let's just see what happens there. The internet had feelings, and I don't think those feelings were wrong. But you never know. What's to come, and I trust the people involved. That's what I'll say about that.
I will say the art for Gorr on the side of the box looks much better than the action figure himself. So if that is how he actually looks, because I know I had a conversation with Chris about like, were you really going to put Christian Bale in CGI the entire time? Like this man could have turned himself into a space alien practically if you had asked him to. So it's like the fact that we're using practical makeup and that is the way we're going is definitely a choice for Gorr, because especially considering how he looks in the comics, but it's very cool to see. Aaron, what do you think?
So there was not just a lot of discussion about this on the internet, but also a lot of discussion about this in the comicbook.com like messaging channel. We have a lot of people who comics lifers that really, really enjoy like the comics accurate looks of things. But my immediate take was like, I don't see how you would have gone about doing some of the comics accurate things. Like, as much as some of us might have wanted Christian Bale running around in a loincloth for 2.5 hours, I don't know how realistic it was to get that. Also, I know as a person who like shakes chip bags and like knocks on melons in the grocery store, that if I pay for something, I want like all of it. And if you pay the money for Christian Bale, you probably want people to know it's Christian Bale, because the same people who said like the stuff on that were like the same people who were like super upset about Scars. What? You're a crow and you're only here for 5 seconds? What is happening? So I think we should all wait till it comes out. As you said, it's good that we're not getting this movie acted out as action figures, although because we don't have a trailer, we don't know if that's not true or not. So we just wait. Taika's got it. It's okay. We're gonna be all right, guys. Everybody breathe.
I still just remember, I think it was like an Onion headline or something that was like Christian Bale gains like 2,000 pounds to play the Sandworm from Dune. So it's like this man would have done that. So yeah, just getting to see him practically as Gorr is going to be so good. And yeah, Aaron mentioned it. Still no trailer. I know people had hoped that the trailer would come on Monday based on the various hand signals that Taika and Hemsworth and Tessa had in that one photo. But that didn't happen. So we will just wait and see when a trailer comes out, because at this point, who knows? It could be right until the end of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness at this point. Who knows? Speaking of that,
Doctor Strange. There's always some Doctor Strange news happening because we are less than a month away. We learned that the runtime is 2 hours and 6 minutes. We learned that it's rated PG-13 for intense sequences of violence and action, frightening images, and some language. And reportedly it won't be screened entirely until the 2nd of May, when the Hollywood premiere is happening, because spoilers, because some people have been ruining that for other people. So we've got a lot of like basic information here. It's so funny because when they announced the Batman runtime, everyone was like, that's too long. And now this runtime, people are like, that's too short. And it's like, a movie is meant to be how long it's meant to be. 2 hours and 6 minutes is a respectable runtime. I have no issue with this. Do you guys think this is too short? Do you have feelings about this?
So I was talking to Aaron about this before we started recording last week. I was worried about this until I saw a tweet from somebody that compiled all of the runtimes of Sam Raimi movies. I think his longest one is Spider-Man 3, and that one is just like 2 hours and 20 minutes or something like that. Like one of the Evil Dead movies is not even 90 minutes. So this man knows how to be efficient with his storytelling. And if you're getting, like Feige has said this, if you're getting Sam Raimi, you're getting him to make a Sam Raimi movie in this universe. So as much as part of me wanted this to be 3 hours long just to help the like magical mystery tour of everything we're seeing in the multiverse, if it only needs to be 2 hours and 6 minutes, granted that's with like 10 minutes of trailers, so even then it's really less than 2 hours, but like I trust Sam Raimi for whatever he has up his sleeve with that.
Yeah, I mean, like people like we had an entire SNL sketch, like what was it, 2 weeks ago, about short ass movies, right? Like, and Netflix made a category called short movies. Short A movies. You can go find that online. I do in a different, like if this was what we had just, I think we all still have like Morbius like sadness. Where it's like the runtime was like obviously truncated to like maneuver around some things. I think that Raimi's probably gonna have a good handle on it. And with some of the other stuff that came up around this announcement about like the rating and the time and why we're not getting, like the screening whenever we're getting it, it's like there's more stuff in here than what they say, like Infinity War and Endgame and freaking Far From No Way Home combined. And I was like, how could that possibly be true at the time? But we'll probably see.
Yeah, I feel like these last couple of years have really like changed our brains but like most Marvel movies leading up to Infinity War and them aren't that long. Yeah. And 2 hours and 6 minutes is still over 2 hours. And now sometimes you just want to pop in a movie and you don't have 3 hours. And I'm like, yeah, give me a shorter Wanda content, so that I can just have a little bit of Wanda as a treat one day when I own it in my home. And I think that's great. Speaking of Wanda, though, there was a new TV spot that just dropped. And we see a lot of cool Wanda stuff. A version of her blowing up an Ultron bot, maybe. There was also like this new close-up on her eyes. And girls got some good eye makeup going. I don't know if you noticed. It's like Dark Wanda's like looking fancy. She's going to Sephora.
I cannot wait for all of the group cosplays. I know like WandaVision itself had like so much group cosplay potential, but I feel like even just for this movie, you can get like half a dozen different Wandas probably by the end of it, of just all of the different makeup and like hair decisions. Like that is just going to be great. But yeah.
Someone pointed out, and that like poor cosplayers like got this great new suit in WandaVision, and it's already different. And I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. That is a bummer. But I'm like, give me all the looks you can give me, please.
If I may speculate, because there was, of course, another round of conversation about whatever she's like attacking in this hallway. I don't think it's an Ultron sentry. I think it's a person. I think it's a person. I think she like straight up puzzle piece someone apart, and that's their nervous system and their brain.
Cool.
crawling on the ground. But that's just me. I mean, it is PG-13 for intimate sequences of violence and action and frightening images, and that is a frightening image.
Don't forget some language.
Some language.
I don't know about you guys, but I always thought all movies had some language, but that's, you know, that's what it is.
I read that to mean that Nick Fury is in here or Chris Evans is in here. One of the two. Because that's the only people with language problems in the MCU. Just the F word one time, or hey, stop cussing. That's it.
Or maybe Mark Spector, because as we saw with last week's episode, people think he might have dropped an F-bomb for the first time. But yeah, I also need to point out, I love the fanfare in this TV spot of like how it goes through all of the past ones before we get to the present one. I think that is just super cool. Yeah, I'm at the point with these TV spots of like, don't show me anything more. Like, I know each of these is incrementally giving us like 2 seconds of new footage each time, but like at a certain point, I'm just like, just let me see the movie. Like, I don't want to get any more context at this point. Like, you know, I'm going to go see it. So like, just give it to me already.
One thing that's weird is that, have we heard Tilda's voice before in any of these?
No. Actually, I don't think so.
She's just like narrating it. I know it's a pull from the first movie, but like I'm like, why? Like that's so funny. Like they try to get away from that, and now I'm like, what? Why? There are so many weird things you can do without giving us any more footage. Because that was one of the things about No Way Home's rollout that was kind of a bummer, was that we got that entire bridge fight like a month before the movie came out. Some of the parts of that would have like absolutely destroyed the theater, and then I was like expecting the beats, which is like silly. I'm like, I would pay $13 to get in here, plus popcorn and a drink. I would like to see once again my thrift on display. I want all of it.
We need that fine line of stop giving us too much, but also give us a trailer. Like, where is the line? Because it exists.
It's a very thin line. That's why I still hold on to my hope of just like the Love and Thunder trailer should just be a music video. Like, just don't show me any actual footage at this point. Yeah. So the countdown to Doctor Strange is continuing. We're just gradually getting closer at this point. So at least that's good.
Right.
Yeah.
So switching gears over to Disney Plus, Ironheart has directors now. That's exciting. Sam Bailey from Dear White People and Angela Barnes from Blind Spotting will be heading up the project. But also, interestingly, Ryan Coogler's Proximity Production Company is also involved with this, which is interesting considering that we know that Ironheart's going to debut in Wakanda Forever, which, I mean, it's just kind of fascinating. They're just like, you know what you're doing over there. Here's this little umbrella of things for you to handle. More siloing of the MCU into different corners. I am a fan of the siloing into different corners because that helps organization and the OCD in my brain be like, yes, this is the person we go to talk to about these things. This is the person I go talk to the manager about. What do you guys think? Were you guys excited for these choices for Ironheart?
I love it. I think I'm just excited that the show is moving forward and that we now have directors and stuff. And I know we talked about like a week or so ago about Coogler potentially being involved, and it makes complete sense of like he's helping introduce her to the universe. So like, why not have him be involved with the show? Because I know he has that like overall deal with Marvel for TV, which we know is going to do Wakanda stuff. And so it's cool that this also gets to be a part of that too. But yeah, I completely agree. I feel like though the black goop, even you can silo things off as much as possible, there's still the black goop. It's still going to be everywhere.
I mean, I believe that something to that effect is why we don't have a freaking trailer for Thor yet. Like like what other reason is there not for there to be a clip? Like nothing. Like literally just have freaking weird Chris Pratt beatboxing and then like Chris Hemsworth doing the robot, and that's it. Like, give us something. So
just the ants thing from the first Ant-Man, when they're just chanting ants over and over. Just at this point, that's all we need. I'm gonna see this movie regardless. So, Jamie, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that these director choices are awesome. Especially just those two things are known best for Dear White People and Blind Spotting. Tone wise, are very different, but also they have a lot to say. And I think that that's a really awesome combination of people. I'm jazzed about that.
I also think that that's building out this like tier system that we were joking around about before, where Ironheart's probably gonna be down here with Miss Marvel, where it's not as like intense as what we just saw in Moon Knight episode 3, or what we're probably gonna see in Multiverse of Madness either. So I'm kind of curious to see where it lies on like the tone spectrum too.
Definitely.
Yes. Oh man, moving on to a different show to discuss. My boy Dermot Mulroney won't say if he's in Secret Invasion, but he's also not like he's also clearly not comfortable with 100% lying. So to comicbookmovie.com, he said, I don't know. I did work with Don Cheadle. And I think there's some footage from that episode of Fame in 1986 dangling out there on YouTube. So please don't watch that. I'm sorry. Was there another question? So yeah, the man's in the show. Like, come on. And I respect it. I respect the dodging while also not being a straight up liar. God, he's such a good choice. I know I talked about this in the past, but I'm really excited. Last night, my best friend was watching something with him and she texted me and she goes, seeing him makes me think of your play. And I forgot that the first play I ever wrote many years ago had like was a rom-com that just had a whole monologue about Dermot Mulroney. I just love that man. He's just a comforting man. And I think that like, and if he's like, but also when you're playing a president, you could really go anyway. So I hope that he's a nice, friendly president, but we'll see.
He might be nice and friendly, and then the scroll side of him might not be. Like, we'll have to see about that. Yeah, this is just so funny. It's like, it literally is the Andrew Garfield thing of like, it's a Photoshop. It's like, we have photos of you on set. Like, there's a fake newspaper. Like, we know you're probably the president in this. And yet you are very cleverly bringing in Fame and Don Cheadle into your little answer. So I love how he's dodging it, but like, we know he's most likely in it at this point. Aaron, what do you think?
I appreciate the commitment to not letting us know anything about this project before it's out, except for the fact that maybe people are in it. That's it. That's all we know. We don't have a structure. We don't have an inciting incident of any kind. Like, it's all just like, you'll figure it out when it comes out, which is great. And unlike, some of the other projects, it's far enough down the line that that's not like an annoyance yet. But we need to know. All I want is that for the scroll version of him, or like the double, there has to be Dylan McDermott. There has to be. I'll be so mad. I'll be so upset.
Also, the entire chat is obsessed with the idea of Jamie having written a play. I'm seeing a lot of JJ Playbrooms and various puns in there.
I hate to blow your minds, but I wrote 3 plays.
Wow. That is very impressive. That's
a long time ago.
I love it.
Okay, so the internet had a little bit of a time yesterday. I was on shift writing for all of you while this was all breaking out. And then we look over at the old trending tab and Captain America 4 is trending. Anthony Mackie is trending. And there's an interview with Extra TV where they're asking about what he's like filming next. And I guess he said that he's going to do Twisted Metal over there with Peacock, which is, I still don't know what that's going to look like. I have no idea. As a veteran of low polygonal video game playing, I have a weird spot in my heart for such a thing, but I don't know if it's going to be good or not. Who knows? Like, hopefully it's good. That'd be fun. But of course, when you take out my latest project going to be Twisted Metal, you get, oh yeah, I'm shooting that right now, something, and then people are like, it's Captain America 4, it's coming, oh God, and not ignoring the fact that we don't have a release date for Cap 4, we don't have its place in the timeline. Sebastian Stan is somewhere right now, like drinking tea and like looking off in the mid distance in a sweater. Like, no one knows what's happening with that movie. I don't even know if the script is done, but all of us believed for half a day, I guess, except for those who saw the original thing and immediately were like, wait, he's talking about Twisted Metal. Why are we all talking about Captain America 4? But so we had a slight Captain America 4 false alarm. Do you guys think that it could actually start filming soon? Because he's always down there near Atlanta, and he's building that facility down there in New Orleans. Like, do you think we're anywhere near Captain America 4?
Yeah, this was such an overreaction in terms of like, oh no, it's not Captain America 4. It takes like a few months for these things to get made. It's not like it's going to take up years of his life. And I'm sure within the next 3 years we will get Captain America 4, which sounds like a long time, but it's really not. And we have a lot of other content coming, and we could very, very easily see him pop up before then. This does not mean that we're not getting Anthony Mackie until then. Like, he's in Atlanta. He's a lot of sets he could pop on over to and make a cameo in. So I don't know anything about Twisted Metal. But But is that what it's called?
Yes,
Did I
that's
say
what
it?
it's called.
You laughed, so I'm like, oh no, did I embarrass myself? And then I embarrassed myself.
We're just going to turn you into a gamer over the course of working on this podcast.
If there's one thing Jamie knows absolutely nothing about, it's games, except for Tony Hawk Pro Skater 3. So that's where I'm at.
I love it. But yeah, with this, it's like, it is so funny to me that the immediate reaction was Cap 4. This is why context is so important on the internet and why we often don't have it on social media, because then things like this can snowball out of control. We don't have a director for this movie. Like, this movie was just put into like development after Falcon and Winter Soldier ended. Yes, they've been writing the script for like at the better part of a year now. So it would have made sense that they probably could have been moving forward with it. But like, Feige doesn't let us know anything until we know something. And I don't think they would start filming on this movie before we have like a director announced or a title or any like actual information about what's going on. So it is this weird thing where it's like, we know what Disney Plus shows are still in the pipeline. We know which ones are going to start filming soon, but on the film side, it feels like it's this nebulous thing of like, well, it could be Blade, it could be Cap 4, it could be Fantastic Four. Like, we really have no idea. So I get that this kind of snowballed into being the way that it was, but it's not going to move forward that quickly. And once it does, like you said, production will be relatively short. Like, we'll still be able to get this movie in the next couple of years, which will be good. And then in the meantime, he has to show up in something else. Like, I feel like that is a guarantee.
That's the part of it that's the craziest to me, is that he said that thing about visiting the Wakanda Forever set.
Yeah.
And was like, I'm not in it. And then that did nothing, no traffic. And he's like, I'm filming a completely unrelated project based on a PS2 game, PS1 game. And everybody's like, it's Captain America 4, he's back. And I'm like,
no.
What happened? How did we get here? I'm so confused. Also, shout out the comic book account for joking about poor Sebastian Stan being passed over to be Luke Skywalker by deepfake Mark Hamill. Pour one out. He'll get there one day, y'all. He'll get
eventually.
There.
The comic book comments are on fire today, so
I know.
doing that. JJ Plaberhams is going to be my new Twitter handle.
Perfect. That's going to be so good.
No,
but yeah, we're just in this weird, like, it's not really a drought. We have movies, Disney Plus shows, we have stuff in the pipeline, but on the movie side, there's still a lot we don't know. So I get how this could just become a thing of like, he's definitely filming Cap 4. It's like, yes, it's him with no director, with a script and no supporting cast. He's just going to film it in like a garage for 3 months and then it's going to come out.
That's an SNL sketch I would love to watch.
Oh my God, yeah. That would be so good. You broke my heart. And then our last little piece of news today, pivoting back to the Disney Plus space, Tim Roth did an interview because he is returning as Abomination in the She-Hulk TV show. And he talked about working on that. And he called Tatiana Maslany's work on the show jaw-dropping, which makes me very happy for reasons I will soon get into. So he talked to ET Canada and he said, she's amazing. It's actually jaw-dropping. Just watching it on a day-to-day level. And sometimes the dialogue lands just on that level. And her ability to absorb and then perform was quite remarkable. And she's funny. One of the signs of a good actor is their comedic touch, and she has it. And then he talked about how they kind of get to improv on the set, because he said Tatiana and Mark Ruffalo together were very funny and we could improvise depending on who we were working with on any particular day. Some of the directors that we worked with were up for improv, and that was funny. The idea of improvising with these characters in that situation. It was unusual, to say the least. Jamie can attest to this. Anyone who has watched Orphan Black will know Tatiana can deliver a jaw-dropping performance. There's a reason why she won an Emmy for playing a dozen different clones on a single season of Orphan Black. So the fact that he is offering this praise for her is so much fun, and so makes me so happy. And then just the idea that they're improvising on this show, like just thinking about Abomination and Hulk and She-Hulk improving together, just makes me so happy. Like, I am so excited to see how much of that improv actually ends up in the show, because I feel like those 3 characters, there's so much potential there for just weird improv. So Jamie, what do you think?
I'm so excited. Oh my God. First of all, just the whole concept of the improv thing is fascinating. And we need more funny stuff in MCU, especially these days. It's just getting more bleak. And oh man, just hearing the Tim Roth speak Tatiana Maslany's name is just, oh, what a pair. As I've said many times in this program, I love Tim Roth. And I love Tatiana Maslany. So throw Mark Ruffalo in the mix and you got a TV show. So, oh my God. I'm this is one of the things I'm most excited about. I know it's Jenna's top, but it's a top 2, 3 for me. Man, oh man, oh man. Yes, the improv thing. I really hope we get some behind the scenes footage of that. That's we've talked about this before, but like give us some DVDs of these Disney Plus shows because I want to see that.
Especially like knowing how they do the mocap stuff and like just picturing Mark Ruffalo with like dots all over his face improvising. It's like, I want to see that. I want to see what that footage looks like and then how we get it at the end of the show. Like, we need that out in the world. But yeah, Aaron, what do you think?
Like you guys are just like talking about the polka dot people behind the scenes footage. That would be very, very, very funny. Where like everybody is just looking at each other and looking completely ridiculous, but playing it completely straight. That's good times right there. After hearing this, I'm kind of sad that she didn't get introduced till after Multiverse of Madness because I really feel like she would have fitted really well. Like, can you imagine how many different variants she could just whip up on a dime? Like, it would be very, very interesting. But I'm also happy to hear that like the humor is not getting like excised because I am looking forward, like you guys said, to like something where it's not as like serious. It's not as like the stakes they be climbing on the Disney Plus show we got this week and the last two. Like, I'm like, okay, Miss Marvel and She-Hulk are gonna be so nice where it's like, hey man, there's no big celestial coming out of the earth. There's no big crazy extra dimensional monster trying to like pretend to be my mom. Like, it's just very, very, I'm ready for it. I'm very excited. I know that some people are like that this is their Super Bowl for like Moon Knight and stuff, but I'm like, I like the other side of the MCU too, where it's not quite as serious the entire time. So
we're really in like a sad era. I bought Spider-Man yesterday and I was like, yeah, I can't wait to watch. And then I sat down in my room and I'm like, I don't really want to cry today. I'm not gonna I was like, I don't feel like feeling these emotions right now. I'm tired. And so I didn't watch it yet. I'm excited to own it and rewatch it. But I was like, whoa, it's weird to like buy a Marvel movie and have that be your thought.
I remember like one of the first calls I got walking in the theater from No Way Home was one of my really close friends. He sounded like he was sad. He saw somebody ran over his dog. I was like, what happened? He's like, man, that was really sad. I'm really upset. Like May, like the poor kid he's just alone. It's like sad. You want to hug him or at least give him a slice of pizza because he's poor. Yes. Like, I don't know.
I'm all for it. I'm all for the sadness. It's just like sometimes you need a break.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely
we really are just in like this sad era. Like, that never actually occurred to me, but it's like this, and then like multiverse is going to be probably bleak on some level just based on what we've seen in the trailers. And so just like at least we get this
language.
Yes, some language. I'm very curious, like, who that language is going to come from, because it's like, is it going to be Strange? Is it going to be an alternate Strange? Is it going to be like Rinshra? Like, any character in this movie could be swearing. I have absolutely no idea. But like, I'm happy that after that, with Miss Marvel, Thor, and She-Hulk, we will get like this more upbeat kind of era. Hopefully, watch Thor 4 will somehow like emotionally rip our hearts out, and then I'll be completely wrong. But I want to hope that these will be a little bit more optimistic.
Taika sneaks up on you sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm in my Steed Blackbeard feelings. So.
100%. But yeah, so that's the news for this week. We will take a quick 1-minute break and then we will talk about Moon Knight episode 3. In the meantime, that is a perfect amount of time to go subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're not already a subscriber. So we are at youtube.com/phase0. But yeah, we'll see you in a minute. Phase Zero, Season 2, Episode 14. We are back, and we are now going to do a full spoiler-filled discussion of Episode 3 of Moon Knight. So we'll just start off with reactions. I know we are really waiting for somebody else's reaction, but he should hopefully be here shortly. It's apparently taking a very long time to break out of jail. But yeah, Jamie, you're at the top of the board, so if you want to share your reaction to the episode.
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it very much. I really like that we got to see what like Mark is capable of, not just in the suit, like he's badass and he can fight. That was great. And I really like that like Layla and Mark are so on the outs, but I like this like Layla Steven kind of stuff, because Steven is clearly enamored by her because, like, you know, she's cool and beautiful, and she kind of gets this new version of her husband that's like sweet and not lying to her, and I'm really into this like this weird romantic triangle that's kind of happening right now. I loved the meeting, the Avatar meeting was cool, and Oscar acting his little heart out, getting possessed was so good. So you know, it's episode 3 and I'm in it. I still got questions, but I trust they're going to be answered. So I'm here for the ride.
Awesome. Aaron, what about you?
I love when these shows end up doing their requisite mid-season detour to an exotic locale. And like the Egypt stuff is just delightful. It's so cool. Like, I mean, like, you were pretty much banking that they would at some point you were going to Egypt. Like, it's Moon Knight. Like, we have to. I was sitting there the first 2 episodes like, I mean, this is dope. I'm feeling it. Like, weird Swiss town, weird cult, regular old London. When are we going to see him just jumping off of rooftops and, like, you know, doing all the Moon Knight stuff? And now we're getting more and more into it as it goes. Also, the Pringles can of Oscar Isaac is absolutely full, because having him be able to take down those people without the suit is great. I love it. I love it. I was like, oh man, when the dude did the knife trick on the ground, I was like, oh yeah, we about to brawl. I love this stuff. It's like hokey as it is. I'm like, oh great, awesome, do it. Also, I've never drunk a drink out of a bag. I need to go drink a drink out of a bag somewhere.
You never slept a bag? No one did that in college?
I did that, but I did not have a straw. We're going to have to figure that out, Jamie, when we see each other. We have to figure it out so when they incorporate it. But it's really cool to see it all sort of like progress. I mean, he needs to stay away from reflective surfaces. They're not good for him. Who is the avatar who talked to him when he entered the meeting? Who is that?
I should have written down her name.
Yeah, she's great. I enjoy her a lot. And Harold's still terrifying. In this room full of literal gods, he walks in and like the air gets sucked out of the room. I'm like, yep, Ethan Hawke, still a bad dude. We're still going. So I love it. Yeah. Oh, Hathor. Yes. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Awesome.
It's it was just fun. So I'm really excited to see what we go next. They keep dropping trailers for this too. So we've seen stuff that's so far into the future. I'm like, oh man, where are we gonna go? This is crazy.
This is just the biggest month for Marvel things that involve drinking out of a Capri Sun, basically. Of like between this and Morbius, it's just big, gigantic Capri Sun month. But yeah, I loved this episode. I thought that it is the middle chapter, but there's so much that they are able to kind of bake in. Like we'll talk about it in particular, but rewatching it the second time, there are so many hints towards Jake Lockley in the point where it's just very, very satisfying to see how they are peppering all of that in. Oscar did just such an incredible job on so many levels in this episode. Like Jamie said, I love seeing him get possessed by Khonshu and just the way that he's able to deliver that performance. And then just like, I have it written in the notes, I tweeted about it already, but the kind of like Christopher Reeve's Superman moment where he transitions from Mark to Steven in that single take is just like, oh, that is just so good. Like this man understood the assignment on a level that is just so impressive. Like I am so happy that he is the lead of the show, because I don't think anybody else could have even come close to delivering that kind of performance. So yeah, this one's just so much fun. It's one of those best kind of detours that you can do while still kind of raising a lot of questions along the way. But yeah, with this episode, I can't remember exactly where it is. I should have made a better note of this, but we got a mention of Madripoor, of like something supposedly happened with Mark and Layla in Madripoor. So it's very cool to still have that location be involved in this universe. And like I said, there are a lot of hints for Jake Lockley, in particular when they wake up in the cab and they're like, well, how did we get here? It's like, well, I don't know. I don't know either. It's like, you're kind of teasing something with regards
And
to
in
this.
a cab, nonetheless.
Exactly. Yes. It is very, very convenient. So it's one of those things where it's like, oh, go ahead.
I was going to say, I really thought in the end when he wouldn't wake up and she's like, Mark, Steven, I thought for sure he was going to wake up Jake. I was like so surprised that didn't happen. But I'm playing the guessing game. So with the rest of you. So
luckily after this week, or after next week, we will be on the even playing field. Unless any of us happen to watch apparently the secret episode that may or may not have gotten uploaded for 3 hours. I know Aaron knows more about it than I do. But yeah, that was just crazy. Do you want to explain that?
Yeah, what happened?
Yeah.
Well, oh, that randomly some people saw episode 5 already. So there's some people flying ahead of us. It's sitting in the background. I was like, oh, why? What do you mean episode 5? I was writing for the site and Jim Viscardi comes storming in. Aaron, have you gotten episode 5 of Moon Knight? I'm like, no. What are you talking? Have I supposed to have gotten episode 5 of Moon Knight? He's like, all right, cool. We're figuring it out. And I'm like, are we getting more? What's happening? And then we just did it. But some people got lucky enough to see it, which good for you guys. I'm jealous. You're flying blind, and we're going to be flying blind with you next week. Next week, Jamie. And I'm sitting there I don't know what's going to happen. I have no idea. Anything could happen at the end of this thing. As soon as shout out to TJ and the people in the comments who are like, I'm worried about the Avatar. Because I am worried about them now, too. That was my first thought of watching all this. I was like, this could go any millions of ways, and I would not be surprised. I'm like, oh, as long as they don't get rid of F. Murray Abraham, so I can hear him insult people going forward, we're good.
Also, just shout out to the people who are tweeting that he sounds a lot like Optimus Prime, because that is totally accurate. That never occurred to me in a million years, but I can totally see the resemblance there. I just love how this episode kind of leaned into the idea that is very true to the comics of Khonshu's not really the best. He kind of is a little problematic with the way that he kind of handles Mark and Steven and all of the Moon Knight personalities. And then even just having Harrow just be like, hey, you're the reason why I'm so screwed up. I'm kind of doing this in spite of you. I love that we're kind of true to that, because when you're doing something in a very Disney context, I was expecting them to kind of neuter him a little bit, but they are really leaning into the idea of he sucks. He's not the best, but we still kind of love him anyway because he's just being so snarky to everybody.
When the kid fell off that cliff and he was like, I thought he was hell. I was like, wow, you're a jerk. You're a real jerk. What is that?
I want to tell you guys a joke that my friend Joe came up with because it's really good. And it's what do you call the game where you have to decide in Moon Knight who you want to spend your life with or be a prophet of God? It's F. Murray Abraham.
That is excellent. That is
shout out to my friend Joe, because that really got me.
I also just need to say, the VFX for Khonshu are so good. When they're after the guy falls off the cliff and they're talking about it, and he's just sitting there in broad daylight. I'm like, the VFX team just nailed it, because he looks like he's a physical person, even though obviously he's not. That was just so unreal. But yeah, so then we got the Tribunal of the Gods, which we kind of mentioned there. That was super cool. I was very curious how we would kind of get other gods and mythology in the show without having it be this fully VFX heavy thing of having everybody there. So I think that was just such a cool process of that. And Oscar's performance and Ethan Hawke's performance were just unreal. Like Aaron said, Ethan Hawke can still be the most terrifying person in the room by far. All he has to do is walk in and just be perfectly unassuming, and yet he is still so scary at the same time.
You hear them crunchy sandals, you go running.
I know. Oh, my feet hurt just watching this scene and just thinking about how much his feet hurt. It's just And then we got the little detour in this episode where they went to visit Anton Mogart, who is also known as Midnight Man. He was played by Gaspard Ulliel, who passed away in a skiing accident in January. So this was one of his final performances. There's a little title card kind of paying tribute to him at the end. So that was very cool. If Jim gets here, I was going to ask him to explain who Midnight Man kind of is in the comics. So hopefully he will have thoughts on that if and when he shows up. And then we got the big moment where they turned back the night sky. That was just so crazy. My biggest question with this is like, this show has done such a good job of feeling disconnected from the larger MCU. I was talking to Chris and I was like, a lesser version of this show would have had them like hunting for an Infinity Stone in like the ancient ruins and would have tied stuff into there, or it would have made it a thing of like, oh, Mark and Layla have like problems because of the blip or something. But I love how disconnected so much of this has been. But like, we get to that moment of they are turning back the night sky. That had to have been noticed, right? Like that can't be a thing that just stayed in Egypt and nobody paid attention to. Like I saw tweets that were like, Stephen Strange is just looking out his window and it's just like, what the heck's going on over there? Like I have no idea. But yeah, do y'all think like this is something that could get Moon Knight noticed in the larger universe and could kind of have ramifications? Because it is just such a big thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean, we could, that the classic Nick Fury post-credit scene that, we used to get all the time, some kind of bring them into the fold. But I also, I think eventually, but whether or not we're going to see it now, I don't know.
Aaron, what do you think?
Oh man. What do I say? Like, basically, we're talking about basically the idea of redemption, right?
Yeah.
Like that's a thorny subject in any fandom now. Like, like people are done with the whole you can redeem the villains thing. And also, we have a body count in these Disney Plus shows of villains get dealt with in like a real way, except for Agatha, because everybody loves her. But other than her, she's the only one who survived, only one who deserved to survive. That's it. So I don't think the chances are great. I find a ballpark. I'm like, oh, let's go 25%. I feel good about the numbers. That can shield me.
Yeah, it's just crazy. And then the episode kind of ends with Khonshu being captured and all of that sort of stuff. So it'll be very interesting to kind of see like how that goes going forward. Like Aaron said, I hope this isn't the last of F. Murray Abraham, because that performance is just something else. It is just so good. But yeah, Jamie, since you are the only one who hasn't seen episode 4, what kind of predictions or questions do you think you have after this episode?
Oh my God. Oh gosh. I mean, I'm still waiting to find out this history. I want to know about this mom. Does she exist? Is that really mom on the phone, or is this somebody else? That's like my biggest question right now is a little history there. I feel like right before Khonshu was trapped, he was like, "Tell Mark to save me." I'm not Brandon. I don't do impressions. And so I feel like he's gonna come back. But I can't wait till they start selling those little statues though, because I want one for my little area. And then for like Jake, we got to get Jake next episode, I feel like, but I don't know. So there's just so many things happening, and I want to see some more God behavior. You guys know, like, predictions. Me, let men kiss each other. That's my prediction.
That's it.
But Tony asked me, he's like, if I was shipping Mark and Steven, and I was like, that might be a little weird even for me.
Get to draw the line somewhere, Jamie. Goodness gracious.
Yeah, absolutely. But no, it is so interesting, like hearing your reaction and kind of what questions you have. Because like I said, after next week, we will all be on the same even playing field, and then we will all just be equally confused going forward. But yeah, I will say Layla pointed out in the comments, the Funko potential from this episode is just insane. I have loved seeing the Funko Pops and all the merch that they've put out thus far. That has been so cool. And yeah, if they don't sell the little Khonshu statue at like Disney by the end of this week, that is just going to be so sad. They have been surprisingly forward with the merch. I know I posted it on Twitter. There was like a magnet that said "Summon the Suit" on it by like Sunday. And it was like, this episode just aired on Wednesday and people are already able to buy merch for a thing that they didn't know about a week ago. So I love that that is the aspect of it. And I feel like as the show keeps going, it's going to get progressively crazier of like all of the merch we can get. But yeah, did anyone have any other like thoughts or reactions to this episode? Because there is a lot to unpack.
I started a debate in the comments, which is, would Mark and Steven be weirder than Loki and Sylvie? And yes, because Loki and Sylvie are two different people.
Yes.
And yeah, I don't think Mark and Steven, you would just be dating a mirror.
Yep.
And that's you know, it's not, I wouldn't say it's the craziest thing that's ever happened. And if you like love yourself that much, but you know, there's a lot of factors in there, so that I'm ending this debate right now, and I should never have started it.
Perfect. Good idea.
Oscar Isaac just talking to a mirror for the 30 minutes is just the Layla show. That's what we've created. Congrats, everybody. That's what we just did.
Oh my God. But yeah, if anyone in the comments has any questions, like we have time to answer them if anyone has any burning thoughts. But yeah, this episode was just so much fun. And it's so satisfying watching the show week to week. Like I know Aaron can attest to this of like binging the episodes was one thing, but now getting to collectively enjoy it and kind of like pick apart the little details is just so much more fun. Like I'm glad we all communally get this experience because it is just so great. But yeah.
Do you guys think, I mean, for us, it's so like, we're so in it, but like casual fans, because, you know, my mom loves the MCU. She's seen it all. She's even watched all of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. She's like a big fan of it, but she's also like, doesn't read stuff. She has no idea about comics. She doesn't like, she isn't tuned into the news. And so she asked me what I thought about New Moon Knight, and I repeated a lot of things I've said in the show. And then I asked her what she thought, and she just goes, "I'm not sure." And I thought that was interesting. And I'm curious if you guys have people in your life that are like that are casual but like a lot of stuff. Because I think my mom is like overwhelmed with the show.
Yeah, my family and like even my extended family hasn't really started it yet, so I haven't really gotten that barometer, but I have kind of sat and I've been like, how can somebody who doesn't know Moon Knight, even tangentially from the comics, like how are they processing this show? And it's one of the trickier shows because it's a completely new character and it is such a specific character at the same time that I think that is kind of an interesting challenge because there's so much to introduce and it is so different from everything we got in the MCU. Yeah.
I think that we watched episode 1 while I was at home with my mom and my aunts and my uncles, and they were just kind of thrown for a loop because they were like, what is happening? Like, what is, because they saw like, you know, the Marvel title card and stuff. This one opens on something where it's just like immediate res, horrifying. Hi, you like that glass? Crunk, glass is gone. So they were a little bit thrown, but I think Mama Dukes is feeling it. I think she's feeling it a little bit. You know, Oscar Isaac is a charming lad. That'll go a long way. You know,
Absolutely.
it really
helps
does.
For the moms, for sure.
It does. I mean, listen, they don't call him daddy for no reason. I had to say it in here. That's for you, Layla.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think that there is like a sort of like barrier to entry, but it's the performances are good enough that keep you going on, even though it gets a little weird. I mean, this is a universe where like there is a tree that just says his name. Like I think people are wising it up to like, you know, it's gonna get a little weird.
1000%. So this is completely shifting topics, but I did like this question from Ryan Reflects. What are your thoughts on No Way Home not having the deleted scenes included in the home release? Because I know we have spoken at length on the show about the benefits of physical media. I do find that kind of annoying. It's like if I'm buying the Blu-ray, I do want as many bonus features as humanly possible. So that is kind of a bummer. What do you?
Yeah, deleted scenes aren't always my like go-to first favorite thing that I want. And sometimes they don't have like, sometimes like they have like slightly different or deleted scenes that are kind of like, you know, especially this movie where a lot of it was green screen. Like a deleted scene is just going to be like Tom Holland standing there with a blue background, like talking to nothing. So I feel like too much might ruin the magic. If they were like Kirsten Dunst was in a scene and they didn't give it to me, I'd be pissed. But like, is there? I haven't watched it yet, as I said earlier. But is there a gag reel? Because that's all I care about.
That is the important question because blooper reels are always great. But yeah, Aaron, what do you think about it?
I mean, somebody in the comment, Damon was like, you know, it includes over 80 minutes of bonus content, most of which you can watch for free on YouTube. That does kind of hurt the value proposition, does it not? Like, It's very strange that stuff's not there, or at least that there isn't more, you know, because the movie proved that we will sit there through 3 hours and just watch the boys be with each other and hang out. We would. If they had just filmed the lunch breaks, people would watch the lunch breaks and like clip it to YouTube or to Twitter or whatever, or Instagram. So, it's a weird.
Yeah, so Sir Glean has another good comment that I was going to bring up. Who do we think could be the first character to come into contact with Moon Knight from the main MCU? Yeah, I'm curious what y'all think.
I want it to be Blade.
Yes, I'm in agreement there. Yeah, I feel like either Blade or Dane Whitman, because like they're both in the same part of London. It feels like they could have crossed paths and not even noticed it. So
I thought they were working at the same museum for a minute. When we first met Steven, I was like, he's working at that museum, and then I realized that was not the case. But I thought like Cersei and Dane were gonna like walk by holding hands in the background or something. But then I realized that that was not what was happening.
I just am like, because if this is set after Eternals, which it seems like it is, the fact that like a Celestial popped out and like yeeted a bunch of people into space and like randomly at the end of Eternals, it's like no one's talking about that at all. It's not even on like a TV in the background or something. Like that is very weird, because I feel like if that did really happen in London, that would at least still be like spoken about here and there. So that aspect is kind of a little weird. But yeah, I would love for it to be a Blade, a Black Knight. I know Damon is in the comment and says Elsa Bloodstone. I'm always down for Elsa Bloodstone, so that would be very cool. But yeah, I want all my sad little boys together. I want them to all just hang out and be emo together. I need that so badly.
Yeah.
If the ending of this show was literally him going to another branch of the museum or like another part of the museum and asking him to like borrow a pencil, and it was Kit Harington in a rolling chair, like the internet would explode on itself. Like, what? He was here this whole time. But I think it is going to be Blade. That would be so insane. There's a lot of people who work in museums now.
Yeah.
Everybody's like got anthropology degrees and stuff. We went from like people who were like military people to be like, no, nerds got it. We got this.
Hell yeah.
Love it.
But yeah, so that is it for this episode. We had so much fun today. There was so much to talk about. I will just say before we go around and really do plugs. So we do have a bonus episode that we'll be uploading on Friday. It'll be an audio version in your podcast feeds. It will be a video version if you go to the new Phase Zero YouTube channel. And it is an interview with Russell Bobbitt, who is a very legendary prop master in Marvel. He has worked on the franchise since Iron Man. Basically, if any Marvel production has filmed in the United States, he has had a role in the props that they are doing. And so myself and Brandon and Aaron all got to sit and talk to him yesterday, and that was so much fun. He has stories. I know Aaron can attest to it once he's back at his seat, but like he has stories that are just so cool and so unexpected.
I'm so sad I missed it.
He told us a story about the Infinity Gauntlet that none of us were prepared for. That was just the coolest thing that he just told us about. So yeah, Aaron, what did you think about doing that interview? Because without spoiling stuff.
Without spoiling anything, it was really wild. Like, someone who's seen that much of the MCU, like the level of like recollection and like weird stories, especially from the early days and stuff that's coming now, like it was really fascinating that he was just like, yeah, we could talk about this, we could talk about whatever, and I'm sitting there in the background like, I can't believe he's telling us about like enter name of spoiler here. Like it's very 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 interesting. You're gonna want to check it out. It was
Absolutely.
a good time.
Yeah, he made me look at the headphones that Peter Quill wears in a completely different way. Like you will look at so many different props in the MCU in a completely different way after that interview. So check that out on Friday. That one will be so much fun. I hope you guys all enjoy it and tweeted us about it. We are at Phase Zero CB on Twitter, and everyone can kind of go around and plug their individual Twitters. Jamie, do you want to go first?
Yes. Hello, Jamie Cinematics. Month of Cage is still going quite strong, and the month of Cage is meeting up with the Phase Zero comic book Marvel loving time this Saturday. We are taking our voices out of the community and into real Twitter to do a live Twitter watch party of Ghost Rider. That's right. It's Nick Cage meets Marvel. It's going to be amazing. It's Saturday the 16th at 9 p.m. Central Time. We got some fun things involved. Adam is going to take over the comic book Twitter account because Adam is our resident Ghost Rider expert. So you're going to learn some cool facts about the movie. And if you are me, you get to just be excited to watch Nick Cage for 2 hours. I have not seen that movie since theaters, so I'm really jazzed.
Damon is asking in the comments, is it on a streaming service? Like how can people watch it?
I think it is. That's a really good question, and I'm going to vamp for a second while I double check. I think it's on Amazon, but I could be wrong. Ghost Rider streaming. Look at me doing my thing. Yeah, it's on Prime. It's on Prime.
Perfect.
So yes, but also I'll pay $3 to rent
Yeah.
it.
I know I own the DVDs because those movies are much fun. But yeah, definitely be a part of that. Tune in for that because that sounds so great. Aaron, what about you?
I'm at Summit Lake Hornet. I was
Aaron?
Wonderful.
Aaron's blipping.
For a second, I thought I meant Jim was coming in, but
just in the very last second, he's just gonna. Oh no!
Listen, Aaron's at Some Like It Hornet.
Yes,
on social media.
The black goop got him. the people, yeah, the black goop got him. Oh no!
Better now than earlier in the show.
At least it's not when my internet cut out that one time and you two just had to vamp. It was just Marvel.
We were not good at that. Aaron and I need direction.
Oh man, but yeah, he's at Summit Lake Hornet on Twitter. Definitely go follow him on Twitter if you don't already. And I am at Hey It's Jenna on Twitter. Go read some comics. There's a lot of very good comics this week, as always. But yeah, there are some very great ones to go check out this week. And just to reiterate, with the bonus episode, it'll be available on Friday. I don't know the exact time, but it should hopefully be available on your podcast platform and on YouTube on Friday. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. We will be back next week to talk about episode 4 of Moon Knight and whatever other crazy MCU news happens by then. We could get any sort of post-credit scene today. Who knows? It could be the Thor trailer. It could be nothing. We have no idea at this point. So we'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.